Today I'm having the fancy salad, so that's some Napa cabbage, normally it'd be romaine lettuce, and cilantro, kidney beans, pumpkin seeds, red bell pepper, and some of this sriracha smoked tofu. And normally I would, with this salad, normally you'd put the veg ground round that's taco seasoning, taco flavored, whatever, Mexican flavored, whatever it's called. And then you'd munch up the nachos and just stick them in there. So whatever crumbs you have left at the end of the bag, that's a good time to make this salad. And then you put this dressing on and it's delicious. But today I'm having it with this and we'll see what happens. And James is having Greek salad and power bowl, and I brought him the feta just put out on his own. I'm going to talk about Angels and Ornaments and these other two movies. And I'm going to read a poem first, and then I'm going to go in to eat after I'm done talking about the movies, so then James can eat without his mask and he'll talk to you for the rest of the show. And I'll come back out and let you know what I think about sriracha smoked tofu instead of the ground round for this salad, but it'll be great. And I filled it really high, so I'll have to eat it just a little bit out of everything for the first while. So this poem I wrote May 11th, 2024, and it's called 2 Buck Tulips. Those 2 bucks didn't eat all my tulips this spring. A few red ones are happily blooming right now. Those 2 bucks must have missed them. Who really knows how? But for days when I see them, those tulips will bring me such joy, like I'm blessed, like I'm fortunate now, like the farmers that grew them some centuries ago. I'm far richer than them, since each tulip I grow costs so little these days. Such low prices allow poorest folks to share tulips' sweet annual show. They're as beautiful now as they were years before, and so if I were richer, I'd only plant more amongst all of the other sweet flowers I'd sow. I'd plant many, enough for the whitetails and for myself too. With my few, I feel wealthy, not sore. So I want to point out that tulips, of course, they're not annual. They come up every year. But what I'm saying is they bloom annually. They put on an annual show just in the spring, and then, so I'm sure you know that. Everybody knows that tulips don't just decide to bloom in mid-July or something again, or in the fall.
Yeah, a lot of guys.
Yeah. So, anyway, that's all I have to talk about with that. Oh, looks like somebody's wilty. You need to put the water in there.
Water? Yeah. Because they were out here doing the last rain.
Yeah, I thought they'd get enough water for sure, but maybe they got too much.
Yeah.
Maybe. But
no.
If they did, they had a good run over the winter in my house, and if they die now, whatever.
You got 3 trashy movies there, right?
Well, they're Hallmark things. Well, I don't know if the last one is, honestly, but
I saw the cover upside down, and I said that's a Hallmark thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You can tell.
Yeah, you can
so, in this one, this Hallmark movie here, I gave it the top and stack, and amongst these others, right? But it was funny, I was thinking about Christmas, I go to the library on the return stack, somebody else was thinking about Christmas because there was a whole row of Christmas movies, and I was like, okay. So I decided, well, I'll get them out. So, this one actually has a pretty interesting story. Angels and Ornaments. And, the leading lady, she doesn't have the greatest voice, but it's nice. And the little child actor, she's not the greatest child actor, but she's okay. I mean, child actors are hard to work with, but in a Hallmark movie, really they're probably on par with the other actors, really. So,
oh, this could be.
Yeah.
You know, there's one thing worse than child actors. Childish actors. Oh, I worked with one. Boy, was he a ham. He was awful.
So anyway, I actually cried a little bit at the end of this because they had a good end song. The lyrics weren't great, but the melody was very nice. And anyway, one guy, he says something to the woman that it was very like my last words that I said to my dad when he was dying. So that, you know, made me think of that. So that, anyway, but yeah, I actually enjoyed this one. A Christmas Melody. Now, Hallmark's good for a lot of things. Like, one thing Hallmark is good for is showing us just how bad certain actors are. Like Mariah Carey. Who would have known? She's a terrible actress.
She's in
Just terrible.
Oh,
yeah, she's really bad. Like,
She's a
she
good
managed
singer.
to screw up one of her lines that it would have been a pretty good one. I can't remember what exactly it was. It was like, she said something like she's kind of playing a catty kind of woman, and she says something to the other woman like, "Oh, you won most likely to succeed at the prom, right?" And she was like, "No, oh, that's right. It wasn't you, I did it." So that's what it was, something like that she said, and it's like, oh my gosh, they wouldn't have written that, I doubt. It was like, it wasn't you, it was me, or you didn't win it, I did, or something like that, right? But it would have been one or the other, but she managed to screw it up so that it was terrible. Really, she's a very bad actress. I don't know how many takes they had to do to get her to even spit out something like the lines.
She's been a very successful singer. So
I know.
just stick to it.
But yeah, I guess she's gained some weight, and so maybe she's not so saleable as a
She still looks
singer?
pretty.
I think she looks great. But yeah, she's not a good actor. I don't think she should ever try again.
Yeah,
This was very bad.
They should have left Elvis out of the movies, you know. He eventually just got really cynical about it because they were giving him such lousy movies. Lousy
Oh,
roles.
maybe I can't remember if there was a child in this one. Yeah, there was.
It's
I can't
Hallmark,
remember. There was a
isn't
child
it?
in this one, and
Yeah.
the child wasn't that bad. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I watch them all in a row, and I get kind of confused.
Isn't it
But-
that a hallmark of a Hallmark show? It's got
Honestly, I
kids
think
in
the
it?
child actor in this one was probably better than the other actors
Mm.
in this one.
Wow.
But I don't remember if there was a child actor in
Yeah.
this one.
Yeah. Do they have dogs in there? I think dogs sometimes.
Dogs
do
might
that.
be a better actor than, yeah. And this one was just bad. The Christmas dance.
Hmm.
I honestly, sometimes I watch these things. Like, I watch the Hallmark movies and I wonder, okay, how are they getting their funding? Like, I watch some of these movies and I think, are church groups using money from that they've been donated by their flock?
Yeah,
you know,
that should go to
fund-
charity, dudes. If
I
you're
don't
actually
know,
doing it.
but in this they were talking about charity, like helping pay some woman's bills and buy new tires for a member of the flock so that he can get his family safely to church or whatever. And I don't know how much of that goes on, but I don't know. I often wonder what happens to the money that is given to churches.
Well, you know,
Yes.
there are worse things.
I know.
Money given to governments, and a lot of it will be sent over to third world countries.
Well, and that's what they
charity outside of education.
that's what they pointed out in this. Like, the one woman was saying, well, is that really right that the church is taking, I mean, sure, this woman getting her bills paid, okay, but there would be people taking advantage of this, wouldn't they? And whatever. And the one guy says, well, do you know what, every dollar that you give to the government goes to, and whatever. So they brought up that point. But honestly, I'm not into dancers, so a movie about a Christmas church dance pageant or whatever, I'm like, dancing doesn't seem to be I know a lot of people think that it is, but it doesn't seem like dancing on stage doesn't seem very Christian-like to me. The way I was raised, it's
My parents didn't believe in dancing at all.
so. I mean, I think
much
it's
less up on stage.
yeah, up on stage. I don't know about that. So I just can't relate to this sort of culture. I guess that's that's just it. So I couldn't relate to the people in the movie, and then the one guy is giving the young woman trouble about, you made a commitment to these kids, and he's been the whole time before she finally said, yeah, okay, I'll do this, you know, she's been pressured by her family, by him repeatedly, and she's repeatedly said, no, I don't want to do that. And so then when she finally says, oh, okay, yeah, I'll do that, then she's given trouble for not giving herself 100% when she has to deal with a work deadline and stuff like that. You know, it's just, honestly, it didn't seem very Christian-like to me. It seemed really bad. So I couldn't relate to this one at all. I didn't like it at all. But anyway, I'm going to take my food in and eat and leave you to James. So this wonderful salad, grab my phone and you can start talking about whatever it is you're
We'll probably talk about classic technology and stuff. We've been talking about classical technology. The follow-up to it. The one book on technology was talking about how there was this idea, bizarre idea, that technological development slowed down during the classical era.
There we go. You're set.
I think it's important to distinguish between what happened during classical Greek times, Hellenistic times, that's after Alexander the Great took over much of the known world, and Roman times. And it's important, I think, to distinguish between the overlap kind of between Greek stuff, that's Roman Republic, and then the Roman Empire. So, yeah. I think there was an immense amount of innovation, not just technological, scientific, during the Greek era. This includes the Hellenistic era. I'm hungry, so sorry for eating while I'm talking and talking while I'm eating. If you don't like it, I guess you can always turn it off. But, yeah, there's a huge difference between the Romans and the Greeks. Class the two together. Just wrong. I suspect we'd find technological innovation slowed down during the Roman Empire. And I wish the guy had kind of looked at technology and science. To a large extent, technology is based on science. The greatest scientist, I think, in the history of the world was definitely not Einstein. The guy was a quack. And I like quackers. Quacks. When it comes to doctors and scientists, I'm not a big fan of. Einstein's the biggest quack ever. Niels Bohr, second one, biggest. Edwin Hubble, third base. All their crackpot theories just developed by quacks. I'm sure there's lots of people out there. Who are you? Be calling those guys quacks. Aren't you the biggest quack of all? So big you're a goose like a hunter? I've talked about it in previous shows. I'll be talking about it again. Frankly, until I die. I'm not going to be sooner than later. I got cancer. That guy actually has business in the alley. He lives in the alley. He's just got a rough running car. No, it's okay. He's a nice guy. Anyway, I didn't want to be talking while he was running the machine. It was a little hard for me to talk over it. Anyway, technology, the greatest scientist of all time, I suspect, was Isaac Newton. But maybe greater than him is Archimedes, because Isaac Newton came, there were people that were almost as good as him, contemporary with him. Whereas, what is his name, Christian Huygens or something like that, Dutch guy, contemporary. Huygens figured that light was a wave. Newton thought it was a particle. Huygens was right. Archimedes was incredible. Came up with the law of buoyancy. He died a little bit before 200 BC, where he's killed by a Roman soldier. That's how the story goes. So how much is that before Newton? Well, Newton died in 1727. Archimedes died almost 2,000 years before Newton died. Gosh, 1900 plus years. What's key about the law of buoyancy? Well, it's kind of like a sophistication of the law of gravity. It's just the law of gravity, discovered by Isaac Newton, was discovered later than the law of levitation. I call it buoyancy, I should say. I call it levitation. It's, there's this weird idea that gravity works one way. And the funny thing is, you know, like, I'm not so sure it works one way. Look at clouds, they're going up and down, up and down. You put wood underneath the water, and it goes up. So, now I still suspect that electricity, they say it's a two-way force. I suspect it's a three or maybe even four-way force. They say the equivalent of the law of gravitation for electricity really doesn't hold true. It's too complicated. It really doesn't hold the real life situation. I suspect if they try to come up with a law of buoyancy for electricity, the equivalent, they'll be able to figure it out. I don't know if it would be exactly the same principle, but it might be somewhat similar. Again, sorry for chowing down and talking. Not the best of mine, but what they. Excuse me. technology. Yeah, Archimedes, 200 BC, before the Romans came in. I think it's kind of symbolic, significantly symbolic that he was killed by a Roman soldier. I suspect if we actually look at our technology development in the so-called class relation, we find that technological and especially scientific development slowed down. The first 100 or so years of the Hellenistic era, after Alexander the Great, saw some development. But I think if you check it out and find out, say the first 150 years, that after those first 150 years started slowing down. It's because the Romans took over Greece largely, basically, after 146 BC. After about 150 years. The Romans were barbarians. They would have been to the Greeks. And on a scale of civilization, by comparison with the Greeks, they were barbarians. And really, if we look at gladiatorial games, emphasis of in their culture on soldiering as opposed to trading or art or scientific investigation or philosophical learning. They were barbarians throughout. All the way to 476 AD. Eastern Roman Empire, a little bit different. When it comes to looking at the Roman Empire, there's been too much emphasis on the West. The western half of it. The Roman Empire started to divide even before Constantine. It was around 300 AD, a little bit later. And eventually split into the Western Empire, which went down kind of like in flames, 476 AD. It was already on the way down by that point in time. And the Byzantine Empire, which lasted almost 1,000 years after the Western Empire collapsed. So 1453 was almost 1,000 years after 476. Did I say BC? I meant AD. AD for both of them. Well, what was happening in the Byzantine Empire? People didn't really study it. I can recall someone trying to dismiss Western learning vis-a-vis Muslim learning. He was quoting some Muslim writer, maybe scholar, saying Muslims didn't have much use, you know, they went to the Arabs for religion, they went to Iran for this, the other thing.
So I forgot something. Oh, and I wanted to mention this with this smoked tofu, it's even better. The salad is even better with this than with the ground round. It's so awesome. And normally, like, I used to make that salad when I was ovo-lacto vegetarian. Excuse me, and I'd put grated cheddar cheese in it. but now I can't because it gave me a headache. But it was great that way, but it's great this way. This is the best salad I've ever had with this and the pumpkin seeds. I didn't even really feel like I needed to have the nachos because I got enough crunch from this, but it was good with the nachos. So I wanted to mention, I forgot to tell you about, it must have cost quite a bit to get Mariah Carey to be in their movie. So they had really bad
sets.
Well, no, they put that everything like that was fine, but they put in ad for coffee in the, like, at first when she goes home to her aunt's place or whatever, her aunt's welcomed her and put a big welcome basket. There's a big thing of Folgers coffee in there. And I'm like, wow, you know, nobody would make a gift basket with Folgers coffee in it. It's like the cheapest.
Is it?
Horrible. Yeah. It's not a good brand. So
Okay.
Anyway. Huh?
It's about the only one that I've known.
It's
well,
so
there's
bad.
Maxwell.
Yeah.
But an heiress of the Folger fortune was one of the people killed by Charlie Manson's crew.
Oh, really?
Poor thing, Abigail Folger. Yeah.
So anyway, then later on in the show, they have the woman getting her and her guy friend some coffee, and then they focus right on the counter onto the Folgers canister, and they leave it there for a few seconds. It's really awful. Awful. So they didn't even do it tactfully or anything. It's just shameless
well, it's
advertising.
not like Hallmark to do anything tactfully.
No, I suppose that's true. And really with Hallmark, I think a lot of the problem, well, there's a lot of problems. I was going to blame the cameraman, but honestly, it doesn't stop there. So anyway, you have 2 minutes or a minute and a half to talk about whatever.
Yep.
Sorry I barged in.
That's okay. Hopefully you didn't catch what I've got.
No, I doubt it.
Anyway, we were talking about the Romans slowing stuff down vis-a-vis the Greeks. And of course the Muslims took over most of the formerly civilized world.
You guys gonna go see me?
And in the formerly civilized world, except where they were counterattacked in Spain and in southeastern Europe and in Sicily and stuff like that, the rot has continued. It's just amazing. How bad it's been, and how people are being trained not to recognize that. You know, it goes back to Edward Gibbon. At least, you know, he wrote about the decline and fall of the Roman Empire, and he's
I
comparing
don't know why I thought you guys would be good to James.
Christian culture negatively with Muslim culture, but you know, like he had a ulterior motive. He wanted to make Christianity look as bad as possible.